daily driving the Lambo for now, until it goes into the shop so we can copy everything with carbon fiber. I went ahead and threw the emblem on as soon as I got home, and a lot of you guys pointed out that we don't have this triangle right here on the other side. That's true, we are missing the triangle, and as you guys remember, we have the wrong window. So I got the window ordered, and the triangle we're gonna make when we're in the carbon fiber phase, we'll just make it. Or if you noticed, our other chassis doesn't happen to have this door, so I may just buy another door that's a spider door, pull the triangle part off, put it on this car, get it painted to match, no problem. Normally in this part of the episode, I tell you guys kind of like what we have planned for the day and our goals for the episode and all that stuff, but to be really honest with you guys, it's so early in the build, I really got no clue. We got to get it into the shop somehow, which is going to be very challenging within itself, and then I think we should start working on the frame, but we got to also look into the fuel system, so we're going to be learning a lot, we're going to be working really hard, and we're just going to do a bunch of fun stuff. Stay tuned. Alright, just made it to the shop. Huge day today. We got to try and get everything into the shop and start the teardown of this process. That's one of the first things I need to do. I need to look at the fuel tanks so we can talk with the guys about the fuel system, make some game plans there. But yeah, first things first, we got to try and get this thing off the trailer and into the shop. We can't back the trailer up because we have this stupid M5 right here. I've been trying to sell this thing on Craigslist, but it just hasn't been going so well. I lost the title. I'm dumb. So I got a plan. Okay, so you can see we got the rear frame out of the way, we got the tarps off, and now we need to figure out a way to get this thing off of here, and we're going to need to be able to move it around on our own. So the game plan is right now is we're going to try and get wheels and tires on this front end, get the front end reassembled, and then we'll build something in the back that can hold the back end, and that'll allow us to kind of roll this thing off. And Kyle and I can also just try lifting the back and seeing how heavy it is. Obviously a lot of the mass of this thing's going to be right in the center, so our wheels in the front aren't going to take too much weight off of it, but we'll play around with that. Now the problem about doing this is that our lower control arms and our suspension is undone, and then we don't really have the bolts for that, or we do, it's in a box somewhere, so we're gonna have to go fishing for all the right bolts, and right now we're gonna try and reinstall the lower control arm, the coilover on both sides. So you can see we went ahead and just kind of temporarily fitted all the suspension components back up in the front, just hand tighten the bolts down. That way it'll hold the wheel properly so we can roll it around. So the front's good to roll. That's good to go. Now moving on to the back, we got some stuff that's kind of drag along too much and hinder us a little bit too much, like this rotor right here and the one back there, the whole knuckle rotor assembly. So I'm going to go ahead and jump into both sides of these. It's going to be a little bit hard because they're pretty burnt up, but try and unbolt them so we can pull them off as kind of one unit. Alright, well we've got suspension kind of knuckle control arm unit for the passenger side, and this is for the driver's side. My guess is that the knuckles are still good. Obviously the control arms all need to be replaced. They're not very expensive luckily, and I'm really hoping that the brake calipers are good as well. Obviously there's some pistons in there, but they deal with pretty high temperatures. I'm really hoping that they will have survived this fire, but we just don't know until we try. And now that we got the frame kind of all done, we're gonna go ahead and lower the front down, and Kyle and I are gonna try lifting up on this and see kind of how much weight there really is. I'm guessing it's gonna be too much for us to deal with, and if that's the case, then we're gonna need to build some sort of an axle or something to go back here. Well, we got it pretty far thanks to gravity, but the using the jack in the back is just not really quite cutting it. It's just digging in too much on this dirt. It's a little bit too rough of a surface, you know, the dirt and gravel. We're gonna run down to the store and see if we can't buy some wheels and maybe engineer something that can go in there and make this baby roll a little bit better. We'll be right back. Back from Harbor Freight, and they happen to have these lovely little swivel caster wheels right here, so that's perfect for what we need. I'm sure they can handle the load. Relatively sure they can handle the load. I mean, if we can lift it, these two things can deal with it. So we're gonna go find some nuts and bolts, and we're gonna bolt them into the engine mount position here, and then we should be good to roll away. All right, we are on casters in the back. It's working. We're able to move it around. So I just want to do a little bit of cleanup before we get it in the shop. Since our shop is such a pristine image of cleanliness and organization, I really don't want to mess that up. So we're gonna, I don't know, either pressure wash this or shop vac it or something. We're gonna get just some of this soot and grit and grime out of here before we get in the shop. Alright, we just used compressed air and kind of blew a bunch of the random stuff out of there. So now this is ready to be moved into the shop, but the shop's not quite ready for it. We've got quite a few things kind of sprawled out around here from the last few projects that we've been doing, mainly outdoors. And you guys have really asked for a shop remodel, and I was really thinking we would have done that by now. But right now the game plan is actually, hopefully this summer we're gonna lay a pad out front and double, like, so the pad's gonna be exactly the concrete size of this. Gonna lay that out front. We're gonna pull down this front wall and we're gonna double the size of this shop. So I'm waiting to do any of the remodeling until then, because all of our electrical is not up to code. I think it was just kind of done by a guy on the weekend, just doing whatever he wanted. And we're obviously gonna have to go up to code if we do this thing. We'll have to pull permits and do all that stuff. So that's why we haven't really done any kind of crazy remodel. And I like the exposed wall kind of look. I just think it looks more like a garage. But anyways, so what we're gonna do now though is some cleanup, some organization, some more hanging of some things, and we got to get our fab space back so we can have, you know, a good space to be fabricating things and working. So I'm gonna get this whole workbench cleaned off, and we're mainly just gonna be throwing away and hanging up a lot of stuff. All right, guys, we are cleaned up, finally. We've never had the shop this clean with this amount of stuff in it. We haven't changed too much. You know, I need to get a better solution for our, I feel like I want a fabrication table somewhere around over there, or maybe over there with our welders next to it. But for now, the fab table is only gonna be able to use for small parts over here, and we're gonna work right here. We're gonna put another sheet of metal back here, but that's all cleaned up and we can access it now, so we can work over here and we can work over there on small parts. Storage throughout there. We got our TIG welder over there, which we're gonna be using a lot on this build because of all the aluminum. We got our MIG welder down there with our vise and all of our metal array. Tool chest, quickly accessed tools are all on magnets. And fridge for beer, bandsaw for cutting, sheet metal over there. We're good to go. Let's bring the Lambo in, get it up on the jacks. All right, we are up. So the next thing I want to do is start working on some of the teardown, getting the valuable pieces off. Like, you know, we know the doors cost about 8,000 bucks a piece. Really want to get this thing off of here. So we're going to get the door off, store it in a nice safe location. I want to work on getting this upper quarter panel disconnected. It could be a little bit tricky because we have our fuel filler, but hey, good news, our fuel filler, none of this rubber is melted at all. So that makes me think that this is probably still intact. And then down underneath, I know that it's still intact. It's a little charred, but it's all still there. So I want to try and salvage that, make sure that we keep that, get this panel off. And quarter panels are detachable on these Lamborghinis, so we need to get that quarter panel off as well. was quite a struggle, but we got the quarter panel off and we got that kind of upper panel off as well. So the next thing that we want to focus on is continuing to kind of drive in this way. My goal for today is to get both the fuel tanks out and kind of remove a lot of the metal that we don't need from in here. So I'm going to keep kind of moving this way, removing things. So we're going to take this weird buzzball looking thing off of there. We're going to take that shrouding off, and then there is like 1, 2, 3 removable beams there that we have replacements for all of those, clean replacements, but we need to make sure that we're saving all the hardware. And then hopefully we'll have a little bit better look at the fuel tanks and we can see how to remove the fuel tanks. Got a bunch more stuff off. It turns out that this upper is really interesting. It's welded onto the frame in the back here, and then it's bolted onto the top of the chassis up here. So that's going to be very good for us for our realignment of our new rear frame section, but it didn't just simply bolt off, which I thought it did. Got all the other stuff out of the way and got our first strap of our fuel cell off. So now I'm going to go ahead and we're going to kind of shift gears over here, and we're going to really start to focus on how to remove these 2 fuel tanks. That was quite a struggle. Those are really in there, but it really is only the 2 bands. There's 1 band up top, 1 band down there. Once you take those off, you know, we used a little bit of pry bar, a little bit of wiggling. We got them off in the process. We made the floor quite flammable, but here they are. So we have the filler neck, what looks like a vent tube, and then some sort of probably evap tube, same type of deal over here. And then where it gets a little tricky is, so you got, you know, you kind of got two of these guys, and then you got a 3-prong. You got a massive 4-prong outlet over here, and then over here you had multiple 4-prongers, and then you had 3 fuel lines, and then the same type of ones over here. So it's very strange, but luckily we don't have to really worry about any of this stuff. Now we want to utilize these fuel cells to power our LS. We're working with Ditchworks on the fuel system, so the next step that I got to do is I got to crack these things open, take a bunch of pictures, and then me and the guys at Ditchworks, we're going to engineer a system so we can drop back into these fuel cells to be able to power our LS. Now our LS, with goals of 1,000 or more horsepower, we're going to have to be running on E85, which means that you got to pump about 30% more fuel as well. So we're gonna have to get some big fuel pumps inside of these fuel cells and probably eliminate a lot of unused stuff. Cracked open the fuel cells, and this is the more interesting of the guts we pulled out. So you have feed line, and these are 2 320 liter per hour fuel pumps. So you have power that runs to those, and then it comes up and to one of those 4 prongs. So 2 of those are hot, 2 of those are ground, and that's the end of that story. On the other side, you have wiring that goes to some sensors inside the tank, which I'll show you in a second. Then we have these 2 guys that do, I think that they basically transfer fuel from one side to the other. And then this looks like a return line to me. So you have feed, and return. So I didn't think that the Lamborghini fuel system would have been a return style fuel system, but looks like it may be. Not 100% sure though. So that's what those look like. And they landed right in here, and then let me get a light. And in here, it's kind of hard to see, but right down in the bottom there, you have a fuel level sensor. And then over here to the left, you have, well, the bottom of the tank, and then some weird plastic thing that I'm not 100% sure what it does, but it involves these guys. So I'm assuming that that kind of feeds and crosses over to this one, which has some of the same type of stuff. We have a fuel level reader in the back there, and then we have a even bigger weird looking white thing that also has what it looks like a pump in it as well. And then that's about it. And then up here we have what's probably vent, and then this ran to the neck there. So that's the story of the fuel cells in a Lamborghini. Now, they're both in good enough condition that we can keep using these things. There's no like burnt up pieces of metal that are too far gone. So we just got to engineer a system now around how we can make them work. But I'm betting if we just get some real powerful Works pumps and replace these wimpy ones with some powerful ones, probably be on a really good start. All right, guys, that's a wrap. I'm happy to be back inside the shop. Episode 1 of our 2019 SEMA build is done. We have 5 months left until SEMA, almost exactly to the day today. So I'm feeling good. I'm still plenty nervous, but it makes me feel great. It makes me inspired to be back out here in the shop. If there are any t-shirt designers out there, hit me up. Chris at B is for Build. I want to do a new shirt. I'm also, I've been gaining weight so fast, I don't really fit in any of mine anymore, as you guys might know. And rather than losing weight, I'm just gonna buy bigger shirts. Let's design some new B is for Build shirts, guys. Hit me up, email me. Let's get something cool that has to do with this, maybe has to do with the SEMA build, whatever, something. Other than that, in the next episode, we are gonna weld the new frame onto the car so we have a complete perfect rear end. We're gonna clean everything up and weld the new frame on in the next episode, so you won't want to miss that. Hit the subscribe button, guys. I guess subscribers matter, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace!